Good day, and welcome to this very special B&B themed solo and concerts lesson, where you may notice I've given up the nice locale of my house and my nice collection of fire-breathing rock and roll electric guitars, and instead in this nice room with an acoustic guitar, for I am on the road and don't have the luxury of making lots of noise. So, following on from the last solo and concert lesson where we looked at using a chord tone approach to play through changes, now we're going to take it to the next step and use a pentatonic approach. And this is an idea that would be much more accessible to blues rock players, so especially if you're coming from an electric guitar background, where the pentatonic scale is really man's best friend, just by another name. So what we're going to do is we're going to carry on looking at the staple chord progression of jazz, which is the 2-5-1. In this case we're going to be doing a major 2-5-1 just for a bit of diversity, and also it's more common. And we'll just show you some lines that and some practice ideas that we can apply to this pentatonic approach. These aren't strictly jazz lines, and you'll find them a very good series of exercises no matter what style of music you're interested in. But it's just quite good to push you out of a comfort zone, out of our little boxes that we often find ourselves in when we're practicing, when we're playing, and so on. So without further ado, let's dive in and see what we can do. So within the key of B flat major, for that is the key in which we're looking at today, the 2-5-1 will be C minor 7, F7, and B flat major 7. We're going to start off with, over the C minor, we're going to play C minor pentatonic, over that, once again in basic and the 5th fret. So just to familiarise us off with that, again, it's the root, minor 3rd, 4th, 5th, and flat 7th, which is this. Over the F7, we're going to use something called the dominant pentatonic. Now the dominant pentatonic, as its name sort of implies, is based around a dominant 7th chord. It spells out a dominant 7th chord. As such, perfect for playing over dominant 7th chords, and you can look at it really as a major pentatonic scale, but with the major 6 replaced with the minor 7th. So the scale degrees are root, 2nd, 3rd, 5th, flat 7th, and starting on the F, that looks and sounds like this. Now taking it from the lowest note to the highest note, which would be the A up to the C, you get this. The B flat major 7, we're going to stick with the major pentatonic, which is root, 2nd, 3rd, 5th, major 6th, which looks and sounds like this. First exercise is going to be very familiar to any fans of classic rock bands like Thin Lizzy. It's a triplet based exercise which can be sequenced, and the basic pattern is a 6-note phrase that looks like this. If you sequence that throughout the strings in the C minor pentatonic, you would get this. We've got to practice it descending as well for full effect. If we then took the F dominant pentatonic and did exactly the same thing with that, we would get this. Think about that one for a second. And then the B flat major pentatonic, exactly the same drill. So really what we can do is we can take those and create the sequence of C minor, F7, and B flat major 7, and loop them and practice them over and over again, so we get very used to switching between all three pentatonics. This is when the fluidity starts to come in, when you can play an uninterrupted sequence and switch the notes to make them fit the chord. You can carry on an unbroken idea, and it really sounds very musical. Hallmark is also great players. One way to practice this is to take a set of strings and loop that sequence and make it fit the chord sequence. So we could try between the B, G and D strings, take the C minor pentatonic idea and make it fit over all three chords, like so. So that's all C minor pentatonic, and then we'll switch to keep it in the same position and switch to the F dominant. And now to the B flat major. So if we put that all together, you should be able to hear the underlying chord progression underneath it. So that's something that's really worth practicing, and then of course you can sequence it, move it up and down all the different positions, and really let the fingerboard click as one unbroken set of pentatonics. Now the next idea we're going to look at is something slightly more angular, slightly more jazz-based, just out of interest. And when we're practicing pentatonics, it's very easy, as in the previous example of playing a set stream of sort of scalar-based ideas, and to break away from that is getting us closer to instruments like saxophones and pianos and so on, especially when in the realm of jazz. And it's an area that a lot of rock and blues players haven't necessarily explored a lot. So we'll dip our toes into the shallow end of this and get a little idea of how it works. What we can do is focus on different sets of intervals. For the sake of this example, I'll take fourths, largely fourths. Sometimes it comes thirds, that's the nature of the pentatonic scale, but largely fourth. If we were to play the pentatonic scales in an unbroken series of fourths, you'd get something like this. If we now switch to the F dominant pentatonic, we would get this. And so on. And it's a really nice way of just breaking out of playing a very linear set of notes and make you actually think about where all the notes lie on the fingerboard. Now, if we wanted to create lines out of that, I mean, that's a great way, that's a nice way to do sort of Hendrix type rhythm parts, you know, those sorts of those sorts of ideas. Great for that. But if we wanted to create some angular, almost fusiony lines, one thing we could do is break up those fourths using a pattern like 2 down and then 2 up, which might look a bit like this for C minor pentatonic. Where I'm just doing 2 up strokes and 2 down strokes, and then it sequences. And if we create that, if we loop that through all the pentatonics, we would get this sort of effect. I notice I'm using a lot of rolling technique with my hand. It's something we looked at earlier with the John Petrucci solo. And of course we can do exactly the same thing where we stay in one position and change the chords underneath it. So if we were to take the exact same position we looked at with the legato sequence, we might get this. So over to C minor, to the F dominant, to the B flat major. So one more time. That sort of idea always reminds me of the end of Joe Satriani's solo in Surfing with the Alien. that idea of keeping that repetitive pattern and just changing a few of the notes to fit the chord. It's a very cool idea, and the best part is it works in blues, it works in jazz, it works in rock, it works in country music. It's a really good idea no matter what your stylistic affiliation is. Anyway, that's just another quick whistle-stop tour of the weird world of phrasing through changes, 2-5-1 changes with pentatonic scales. As usual, there's plenty more to explore, so take these ideas, apply them to your practice, apply them to your playing, listen for other players using this sort of stuff. Everyone from John Scofield to pianist called Tyner and so on, they all use these sorts of ideas, John Coltrane and so on. It's a very interesting area. So get listening, get practicing, get transcribing, and let me know how you get on. I look forward to hearing from you. Thanks for watching.